Hello and welcome to the Smite Draft League. We've got your favorite thing. It's more playoff actions. We've got the City Boys and the Dropkick King. City Boys are on the blue side. Dropkick is looking red. I'm Anthony Malum. I have Kingfisher alongside me. Let's talk picks and bans.
Yeah, and I mean, already the thing that's really jumping out to me is the amount of jungle bans here. That is three straight jungle bans, assuming that they're thinking of the Thor jungle there. We've seen Thor solo do really, really good. I believe it was in the hands of Terminator. So definitely a really good all-around ban there.
Agreed. And taking Sasano away from LDG Fish is pretty big on the priority list. And we've seen Neja come out, so that's even more focus on the jungle. So both teams are very aware of Fish and Virtually this time.
Yeah, and they definitely should be. I think Virtually is kind of not necessarily like a hit or miss jungler, but somebody that can just absolutely pop off if you give him the opportunity. So I think taking away those comfort picks, some that he's really shown on, is definitely the smart move. And the Thanatos ban too. Wow, they really just they hate junglers.
And with the Kepri ban, that is the sixth jungler ban. And the first pick is Rama, no doubt going to Remarkable Wolf. We've seen that a time or two this season. And Rama is a character who has been very strong in this playoff so far.
Yeah, he really has been. I mean, it's a hunter that just does it all, does well in really any meta, any build path. Always somebody, I think, along with Ishtar and Cupid, kind of really the top in the meta right now. And on that same note, I'm kind of surprised we haven't gotten an Ishtar. That's normally a top pick, top pan hunter.
Yeah, the Ishtar has been incredibly strong, especially into Rama. I've seen that a few times, and it feels like they play off each other in an interesting way. It almost reminds me of how Medusa played off Rama whenever Medusa was high in the meta. But instead, much to my chagrin, we're gonna get a Shibalanke pick instead.
Shibalanke, the second best hunter in the game, clearly. But yeah, I mean, we know not a big fan of Xibelong, but this Ymir pick definitely something I'm excited about. We really didn't see this during the actual season, but it's picked up a lot in popularity in the postseason here. And I think for good reason. It's a really strong pick. It's a pick that never really goes wrong. There's no good counter to Ymir besides getting a Phantom Shell and praying that you time it right.
Yeah, for sure. And a small thing with Ymir, we talked about it a lot at the beginning of the season as we were still kind of feeling out players, what their skills were like, what kind of mechanics that they had. But Ymir is a character that a player who knows a lot about the game can do a lot with a little, just with positioning alone. Because when you play it against enough Ymir, you can't just stand in front of Ymir. You have to try to position yourself outside of the freeze. If you're outside of the freeze, you have to watch for the wall of ice getting slowed. There's always the wall. That's a problem. If you start killing Ymir, you know he's going to ult. You're doing an objective, you know he's going to ult. So the presence and the focus you have to put on Ymir is pretty significant compared to some other supports.
Yeah, it really is. About the only support in the game that has legitimate kill pressure at like level 2. Just because of that passive, you do so much damage early in the game that I think laning phase in particular, really hard to kind of dance around him. But a Rama and an Athena is a really good response to that. I think that lane should have no problems at all, not necessarily getting ahead, but staying caught up with the Ymir and X-Ball. And the Scylla, I think you and me have talked a lot about how much we like the Scylla. Do you think it's interesting though that it gets locked in over all the other mid picks that are still available?
I think it's interesting in the context of the rest of the season, but if it were me, I feel like Scylla's a character that comes out in moments like this in a competitive setting where you really need a character that you know will perform almost no matter the circumstance. It's very hard for a Scylla to be useless at any point in the game. Sure, maybe the first 5 minutes, but even if you fall behind, if you find yourself on defense, which we find a lot, especially in Challenger, Scylla's a character that I want 10 times out of 10 in those scenarios. So I just rather lose with my best options than something more basic.
Yeah, definitely agree. A pick that's always good, always kind of in meta, and really can't go wrong. It's pretty hard to do bad on a Scylla. But that being said, we have seen a couple forgettable Scylla games this season. I don't recall their mid playing Scylla, so I guess that's going to be the first time we see that. But back to the bans, two really odd ones to finish it. It's going to be the Pele and the Hades. The Hades has gotten a little attention lately, both in our playoffs and the SPL, but the Pele ban, we normally don't see here.
Yeah, and I can't recall us seeing Fish play Pele, except maybe once. Reminder that Fish was a bit of a late addition too. So yeah, I'm not sure if that was more trying to keep it away from a particular team comp that they were going for this game, or if that was just maybe somebody doesn't like playing against Pele, because I know you're going to say it, but comfort over meta.
Yeah, comfort over meta. And if Pele makes you uncomfortable, it's a god that I think makes a lot of people uncomfortable. When she dives in with the ultimate, it is really, really hard to peel off unless you have a lot of coordination with your supports. And a pick like Athena is a support that really likes to get aggressive, kind of act like a second solo laner. So I think definitely smart taking a high pressure jungler like that, not only off the board in general, but away from LDG Fish. We've seen him absolutely run games depending on what pick he gets. I think definitely hedging their bets here, not wanting the jungle to run away with this one. I think it's a smart move.
Agreed. I'm not confused or concerned. It's a great character, but I feel like we haven't seen a lot of Osiris lately. We've seen even less of Camazotz, but that's a we'll touch that next.
Yeah, definitely not. And I'd be interested to see if this goes kind of to solo or jungle. I think given this Ymir, they have a lot of flexibility because Ymir, I think pretty similar to Athena, is just so good at engaging on the front line that it doesn't matter what you pair it with. By comparison, they're just going to do a lot better. And interesting, I think it's probably going to be the Camazotz solo on the other sides, so that might also influence whether this Osiris goes to solo or jungle.
Yeah, if you were gonna do a last second change, their Dropkick are kind of in an interesting spot to do that, honestly. So I'm curious if they will. I am excited to see the Camazotz. I feel like Camazotz falls into the same category that I just put Scylla in, of being a character where you kind of know you can go to it. I'm surprised to see the Bellona come out, but it looks like that's our solo laner, putting Osiris in the jungle.
Yeah, it definitely should be. I mean, okay, there he turned it. I was like, I'm not putting it past Fish to go Bellona jungle. But no, it's gonna go to the solo lane. Definitely the classic matchup there.
And with that, we're going to leave you in picks and bans, but you don't have to wait long. We'll be right back with game number 1 of this playoff set between Dropkick and City Boys. It's playoff time. It's City Boys. It's Dropkick Kings. I'm Anthony Malum. He's King Fisher. Let's do it.
Yeah, and we are absolute geniuses on the desk, as it is going to be the Camazot solo and the Bologna solo. No real surprises, but other than that, this is a really interesting draft. I think it kind of went in a direction that we really haven't seen so far this season.
Yeah, I feel like that was almost one of the more but the where the emphasis was very much so on counter picking, where normally it kind of feels like teams come in with a big pregame plan, but that just wasn't the case here. It felt like they were responding to picks, which is always exciting to see. Nice double taunt.
Yeah, really good double taunt by the Athena. I typically think Ymir's got the advantage, but Athena definitely a Guardian that could dish out both the CC and the return damage. That being said, though, I don't think Dropkick Kings are going to be too mad. They'll definitely be able to reestablish wave superiority here in a few.
Some good damage coming out on Virtually from Fish on the Osiris, but with Scylla's early game, not too much kill potential there, unless there had been a mistake. We did see after the double taunt some good damage came out from Wolf onto Spartan, but that is healing up as they're going for Mannequin Scepter, and solo lane's pretty calm, so not a very bloodthirsty start here.
Yeah, definitely not. And I think kind of expected that given the picks that are so far. A lot of them are pretty what I would consider traditional aggressive picks early on. I think the solo lane and the supports in general both are. But both these teams, like you said, they counterpicked so well against each other's draft. I don't really think either team is going to have too much of an early game advantage.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a game that comes down to just, I don't want to say the meta game so much, but really it's what's going to be. It's going to be how can you handle your micro, your macro play, how are your individual mechanics, and how can you combo everything to just outlast your opponent. These are both good teams. I think you said it in a different pick and bans, but this is one of the more evenly matched games that we have this playoffs.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think both in team comps especially and the team caliber, are both two really, really good teams. They both show flashes of excellence. So it's kind of a toss-up, despite, what the standings would say.
Yeah, for sure. We do see Virtually hanging out, trying to see if he can make a gank happen. Did not commit on the first look, not going to commit in the second look, going to turn for that purple buff. Another big double taunt. Virtually might wish he had gone over now. Big double freeze, though, from Stoops calms things down. And the purple buff remains a target. It is stolen away for Virtually, but will there be any response pressure? He spent a lot of time over by purple.
Yeah, definitely he did, but I think Virtually is going to get away okay, and there he does go back to base. You love to see it. And the Eye of the Jungle start, I think it's always kind of interesting to me to see what the Robins build, just because in that kit there's so much CC immunity, CC itself, and damage. It's always really cool to see where the Robins go, because we definitely do see the more tanky Robins in the jungle sometimes, but I think given the squad around him, definitely smart to be building full damage here. Him and this Camazotz are going to wreak havoc on the Dropkick King's backline later in this game.
I agree. Something else I'm curious to see is we talked about the ADCs a bit early on, and Remarkable Wolf, of his performances this season, the most impactful I can think of, they tend to always be on either this Rama or something more traditional. So I think that was the best pick they could have possibly had, Virtually hanging out around the mid Harpies. Looking to see if he could make anything happen on Pest News, but Fish walked by, and with them being level 5, Virtually's got to wait this one out. He fell a bit behind in farm, peeking over for that purple buff.
Yeah, unfortunately he did. In that Osiris already ticking over to level 5, that ultimate is going to be so good if they get into a small little jungle skirmish here. That Lord of the Afterlife is going to completely shut down everything that makes Camazotz so great, but big aggression on the X-Ball. He gets out.
Another nice double taunt from the Athena. OLK has not missed a double taunt so far. It's been very impressive to see.
Yeah, definitely hasn't. OLK looking really good on the Athena. I think pretty much every game we ever see OLK, we're always talking about how good his abilities are looking, whether it's the Dharmic Pillars on Ganesh, the walls. I think he has played Ymir before and did pretty good, so no surprise to see him hitting those big combos on the Athena, and that's what you want your support to be doing.
Agreed, agreed, agreed. Seeing this Osiris go Golden Blade, that's an item that we've seen take a massive jump up in popularity so far for these playoffs. Are you surprised by that, or did you kind of expect that item to be a number one go-to?
Yeah, definitely expected it. I mean, it's not necessarily for all gods, but I think Osiris in particular can kind of struggle with jungle clear sometimes, but already having cleave autos and a fast AoE chain, it does really, really well on him. The attack speed too is always feels really nice on Osiris, so not surprised at all.
I think the only character that we've seen it on that surprised me was we saw it on a Amaterasu, which definitely
Yes.
threw me for a loop. But even in that game, I think it was piloted by Terminator. We saw how effective it was. So there's definitely a possibility here to see the same thing, especially since it's more suited to the character, as you were saying. I'm also surprised by how calm this game has been, but with these teams being, again, so evenly matched, so talented, I'm also not surprised because there's no better circumstance for the game to be calm because these guys just aren't going to make a simple mistake. If they're going to die, they're going to go down fighting.
Yeah, and I think the really interesting place where we're going to see these team comps really played out is going to be the late game, because looking at the builds, all these players, except for the carries, are opting for really, really different paths. Both in the support, we've talked extensively, I think, about the Gauntlet of Thebes versus Mail or Renewal, and now we have Bologna going into what I would assume is a Soul Leader, Robin going a lot more traditional Bruiser build. It's really going to be interesting to see how these teams kind of play around this comp. And it's Devourer's Gauntlet. Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, these I think you've mentioned a million times to me that even when the item's good, you like seeing that transcendence on Xbalanque, and it's always hit or miss for me. I would rather eat bricks than play the character, so I can't really say I built him one way or another. But I'm curious if that's going to matter for this mid early. It's clearly not going to matter late, but Blink from Virtually on to Toe Taker has to use the ult away. Virtually's got one of his own, but not a lot of damage there. Dash does hit an ability, but they can't quite dive Toe Taker right now. So he's going to be safe in that Bologna with Stoops around the side too. No kill quite yet. Although Fish is looking for a counter gank in duo. Blinks onto Wolf, does miss the whip there, so I think Wolf is going to be more than okay. So 2 failed ganks across the map.
Yeah, and I don't think it's very surprising, especially on that right side, with the Ymir being that close. If you dive that tower to try to kill the Bologna, you're dying. I mean, it's pretty simple. So I think the smart move not to engage on that side, and then on the flip side, Rama is, I think, sneakily evasive for some hunters. Despite only having that rollout, he can really get away from aggression on a dime.
I think the dash feels like it goes much further than it does. It almost feels more like how Medusa's dash feels, and less like something like, say, Heimdallr Ultimate or something like that.
Yeah, gotta love Medusa Dash, where you can just pretty much teleport across the entire lane.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no Medusa in this game to really see it in true glory. Ooh, remarkable, getting good poke. Neptune's gonna have to back off here.
Does have the Astral Barrage. Here it comes. Shell comes out, and with the shot missed, there is going to be no kill there on Neptune. Tough break for Wolf, but great break for Neptune. Dash does get chased away from Fish on the solo side, but no kills there. Very fortunate turn of events there for Neptune for that, not only just the shell, but for that missed shot from Wolf.
Yeah, I don't know if that missed shot would have quite landed the final HP. It would have been really close, though. I was going to say, definitely smart by Stooms to use that magic shell, knowing the ADC was in danger. That's also a bit scary if you're Neptune. I mean, both were full health going into that fight, had relics, ults, everything. And Remarkable just hit more shots. So definitely going to have to be careful later on. I think also interesting, both those ADC's autos can pierce the waves. So it's not like X-Ball has a normal innate advantage he has in getting the enemy to just completely back off the wave.
Yeah, that's always a weird lane to feel out in terms of poking and trying to get that advantage, that pressure. Because like you said, they're matched in how they handle the wave. Sometimes it does feel like Rama can kind of take a little bit more advantage because his dash feels a little bit more natural to use in those boxing situations. It's always strange to try to successfully use Xbalanque's dash for damage, and if you do, obviously you're put in a very bad spot. We'll see how he uses it here with the gank from Virtually. He'll be unable to use it. It's a first blood for City Boys after a gank out of nowhere from the Raven.
Yeah, and he'll be dashing around in his dreams for sure. He has a few more seconds to think about that gank. And now the Gold Fury started up. I like this call from the City Boys, but they don't have much secure on their team. Unless Slim the Rebel uses an ult, but he uses it to get him back off. And good call from Virtually here, zoning out. As long as he doesn't die, this should be a free gold.
It's down low, and it's going to be free. City Boys has the first Gold Fury of this playoff set, and it was pretty clean. Like you said, fantastic kiting there from Virtually to get everybody away from it and give City Boys just infinite time. They could have taken 10 more seconds to get that Gold Fury.
They could have, but luckily they don't. Not gonna bait it out for too long, and now they should have a pretty good lead in gold, and in fact they do, about 1,500. So luckily are going to be able to go back to base, get some items, but still looking really even down there in the charts. I think we see a little more variation as now Ymir building into another item in that tree. Is he going a second item, Gauntlet of Thebes?
It's hard to imagine there be anything else picked up there. So I guess I don't know. I feel like if you were gonna do Gauntlet of Thebes, you should definitely pick it up first and maybe just not get the mail overall. Toe Taker gets 3-man ganked. I'm sure he's spamming his chat right now. There's the ultimate from Dash. Still haven't killed Toe Taker though. Somebody's got to land the hit ultimately. Okay, tanking the tower, Virtually looking for the opening to get it. Dash in from okay, there's the damage, but they've hung out quite a long time, and Virtually has no mana. Fish blinks in onto Virtually. No good abilities yet. There's the damage he needed. There's the slow. But the good stun, not enough. He walked into the Ymir ultimate. Stoops gets the kill onto Virtually. But that was not the cleanest of plays from City Boys.
It definitely wasn't, and I think before I go further, I gotta say how much I absolutely despised that joke. But I think besides the Virtually pun, yeah, it wasn't clean. They get the job done, but unfortunately for Toe Taker, that's what you get when you don't have any wards on the right side of the map. And Dropkick Kings, they don't have basically any wards in their own jungle. It's all on the enemy's side. I think they have one over by the mid Harpies on duo lane, but that's about it. And paying the price for it right there. Luckily, though, getting that frag back, it's going to stay pretty even, and indeed, it's still only about 1,000 lead for the City Boys, which is going to continue to fall with that Pyromancer pickup.
Yeah, I'm almost confused by the pace of this game. I expected this to be very much an arena fight. Wow, this ADC trade has taken a turn from what we saw earlier. Neptune was doing numbers on Wolf, well, not aggressing anything. Pretty smart choice there. Stoops is pretty low by red buff, though. But Pest is full health. We'll see if City Boys commits. They do not commit. They give up the red buff, ultimately. That was a risky call, but now the taunt onto Stoops. Virtually's here. Shell comes out. Virtually blinks ahead of Stoops and turns around and gets the kill. He's going to have to overhead kick the crush to avoid the damage, and City Boys gets a kill cleanly and gets out. No red buff, but I think they'll take the support kill over the red buff any day.
Yeah, definitely should. I think a little unfortunate for Stoomp there. I like him not backing off the red buff. I mean, if Virtually wasn't there, he absolutely could have lived through that. Yu Huang only has a little bit of pen built in with that soul gem. And it is a second item, Gauntlet of Thebes. I know there was one more item I was forgetting on that tree. Can't for the life of me think of it right now. But luckily, I think with how much this Ymir has been roaming the map, I mean, we just saw him on red buff, he's been in solo, he's been in duo to help ganks. He's still going to be able to get that item stacked, so I think for his playstyle, definitely not a bad call, and maybe those early protections on the male renewal help him be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's still a tough call, and it's a tough decision for me to get behind. I'm gonna have to hold my train of thought here as Remarkable Wolf has taken some serious damage. Stoomsalt, Crush, Aegis, I'm a monster! Finally, he dies. OLK did get a kill onto Neptune's Spartan, though. Virtually's here. Crush blows him up. Double kill for Pets News. OLK should be the next to fall, but he's pretty tanky, and Slim the Rebel is here. Dash away for the Athena, and with how low Stoops and Fish are, they're going to have to let the Athena go. Another kind of tough gank for City Boys. We're seeing this become a theme over and over again with their deep map pressure so far.
Yeah, I like the initial thought, but I think gave away a little bit too much for that to really be impactful. Gotta say, I love the discipline there from LDG Fish. I saw that ult on Osiris and I knew he really wanted to jump in there to try and clean up the last kill, but doesn't and saves life. I think these ADCs finally get a little bit of variety. Rama not going down the crit route. And G-Belonk is. I know we talked about liking Transcendence on X-Ball, but I think I like the crit even more on Rama. It feels so good with his kit. And the pen
Yeah.
build is still a pretty good one, but definitely not going to have that late game punch that Spartan's going to have.
Yeah, before I respond to you, I just want to point out that there was a bit of a tough fight at the blue buff there. I think Dash might have been making a play. I don't know. It could have just been in the moment thing, but the Kamazot's ultimate does not go over walls, which put him in an awkward spot, and he had to kind of just leave Toe Taker alone. It was almost a great solo kill. Oni Fury actually getting pulled by Dropkick Kings, and I don't think anyone's there to contest it like quite yet, and there will not be. There is a solo kill in the duo lane. Remarkable Wolf picks up Neptune Spartan, but the solo kill was enough to distract for the I'm a Monster to secure the Oni Fury, so unintentionally we'll call that some great kiting. Gake and Solo virtually picks up a kill on Toe Taker after the Oni Fury. Stoomps is low trying to get away, but with the wall and his healthy teammates, he should be okay. So 2 members down for Dropkick, but a borderline free Oni Fury for the same team.
Yeah, and I do really like that play by Dropkick Kings. I was about to question it, doing it without their ADC there, but Neptune stays alive long enough and keeps the Rama away. They did use Crush to secure, but anyway, those Astral Strikes, still really, really scary to try and secure an objective against. But now the only bad thing is they've lost their tier 1 towers, so I think these Oni waves are more to try and stop the bleeding than they are going to allow them to get aggressive. Normally we see teams go and try to strip the jungle off the back of these, but given the state of the map right now, I don't really think they can afford to, as it's just dead.
Yeah, that almost feels to me, honestly, virtually probably should have held on to his beads. It almost felt like he knew he was dead in that scenario and just chose to accept it for being so pushed up. But he did use the beads, so maybe he thought he could get away. Ultimate was down, but tough break for the City Boys jungler. But just to clean up the point earlier we were talking about, I wonder if Remarkable Wolf is concerned about how tanky this team could get from Dropkick with the Bellona, Osiris, and Ymir. But considering the build that really both of them are going, I don't think he has to worry. Dropkick secures the Pyromancer, no problem. But with the build that we see them going, I mean, the Osiris and the Bellona currently are not that tanky. So he probably did not need to go the tank killer build. He might go the Neptune killer build. Gonna use the ultimate, look for the ego kill. He's gonna find it. No support needed. Athena ultimate down. Now they look for the red buff invade. Crush comes out and secures the red buff. Sikkim, good wall from Stoomps. The Pest has taken a lot of damage, has to use the Aegis. Still alive, Sentinel comes out, he's away. I'm a Monster looking for the re-engage. Slim might see him though, could be an easy double kill. I'm a Monster, no good. And now Pest is open. Remarkable Wolf gets that kill, make it a double, called an unofficial triple. Back to the mid lane. Fish gonna fall to virtually, and City Boys is cleaning house. Only remaining member for Dropkick is Toe Taker, and he can't do anything to stop this. They might even look for a sneaky Fire Giant off that fight.
Yeah, I would definitely, I think, consider the Fire Giant. You're going to have to get someone to zone off Bellona. And you were talking early in this game how troublesome those maybe missed gank opportunities and invades might have been for City Boys. They cleaned it up right there, and a really nice job from Remarkable Wolf rolling forward there to get the Scylla and the Ymir. Should be a pretty uncontested Fire Giant, and indeed, Bellona just has to run. Oh?
Bellona ult's in, though, but the ult was very early. Now Neptune's here. Fire Giant falls to City Boys. They're going to turn and look for Neptune and get the Spartan on the menu. Chasing him down. The slow is no good. Virtually is around the corner. They're hard committing. Wall from Ymir comes out. Will only delay for the time being. And the delay was good enough, though, for now, as they cannot commit for the kill onto Neptune. Nice wall from Stoomps, and they're going to look to back up and reset for the push in left lane with the Trebuchet.
Yeah, definitely a smart move. You know how predisposed I am to the Trebuchet. I think it's a great item, and I love it when teams actually use it on their pushes. It does so much more damage, and I mean, you don't have to go into the tower to kill it, which is always really great. They're going to make Dropkick Kings kind of come to them. But I think going back to the point about Rama's build, like you said, I love this build a lot more than Crit against the Ymir. Ymir is so naturally tanky that this build is going to feel great. I think the only downside, like you said, Fish and Toe Taker are building basically full damage. This Rama is going to get obliterated when they jump in on him, so he's going to have to play really, really carefully, putting a lot of trust there in OLK to kind of peel him out of those bad situations. Can he find another solo?
Uno, dos, no tres needed here. Remarkable Wolf solos Neptune Spartan in the duo, looking to make it a double as Fish showed up, but he's going to have to use the ultimate to get away. That was a risky time to walk at a level 20 Rama with 5 kills. And Remarkable Wolf has decided that he wants to put City Boys on his back for the rest of this game.
Yeah, maybe I was wrong. Osiris didn't seem to do a lot there. As they are getting aggressive onto Stooms, but I think letting him go, getting the tower here is a smart call. Interested to see if they're going to try to push us onto the mid T2. I think that'd be a good move. Their minions are pushed really far up. This Phoenix call is a bit ambitious.
There's a chance they're going to have to kill either Toe Taker or Pest. They can't fight all three under the Phoenix. Pest is dropping low, and ask and you shall receive. Slim the Rebel blows up Pest News. Right on the heels of that, oh okay, dashes in, gets a taunt onto Neptune, dropping low. Dash gets in, Toe Taker low to Rama, level 15, not very tanky. Okay, so low has the back, gonna have that ultimate to get back in though. Fire Giant still kicking for City Boys. Mid Phoenix falls to virtually. Athena's back in. They're all healthy. They could end potentially, or at least look for it, but instead, Remarkable Wolf is going to back, and they're going to look to clean up the final tier 2, and then maybe look to either reset for next fire or aggress onto the right side Phoenix.
I was going to say, I definitely wouldn't try to push the Phoenix with the Fire Giant running this low. I mean, it's 21 minutes in, you have 2 Phoenixes down. There's no need in the world to over-push this. I think it definitely keep the tempo up and make sure you don't back off too much, but I think they can definitely afford to wait around, get the Primal Fury, go over to the Fire, get that, and make it super clean. I think all the worries I had about Remarkable Wolf's build kind of just falling away. I mean, this Rama is so far ahead in this game, it doesn't matter what build he's going, he is destroying Dropkick Kings. So if he can stay ahead, it's going to be really rough transition for the Dropkick Kings to find any aggression onto this backline.
I agree completely. This is going to be a real tall order for Dropkick to defend here. I'm trying to think of the lane they could do it, but with the builds that Osiris and Bologna chose to go, I mean, Bologna's just now building into some defense here late, with the exception of the shield. I just have a hard time imagining them surviving anything. Virtually dashes in, or blinks in, excuse me, but nobody's there. I can't see a lane where they can defend with this team. I mean, Pest News, Stoomps, and Neptune are built for it. And Bologna, I would traditionally say, is built for the defense, but with this build, I just can't really see it happening.
Yeah, and I think especially the amount of CC immunity that City Boys have, I mean, their beads coupled with their ultimates and abilities, it's going to make it really even harder than it should be for Dropkick Kings to really do much against them. I think I've talked a lot about kind of my position on full damage solos. When they're winning, I think it's a great thing. The problem with this Bologna kind of not necessarily been behind the Kamazots all game, but the entire team has just been on the back foot. And I think starting to pivot now towards a more defense utility items, we see the Toxic Blade, and I'm guessing it's going to be a Shogun's Kasari, I think is definitely the right move for the rest of this build.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of pinpoint what I think we're going to see next, and I can't imagine any lane aside from City Boys running it down and being able to find a victory. Probably going to wait for Fire Giant to play it smart, considering it's playoffs, but, I mean, you look across the builds and the levels, not only are the builds significantly different, the experience difference is massive. I mean, Stoomps can probably only survive 5 to 6 autos from Remarkable Wolf before he dies. Fish gets caught up by Virtually, and Bad Virtually might have a pick here. Dash following up. There's the ultimate. There's the response ultimate from Fish. They don't chase it all the way, but with Fish being poked out like that, and Remarkable Wolf and Slim starting Fire Giant, there will be no even slight contest for this Fire Giant.
Yeah, and I like this move. I think it's the right call from Dropkick Kings. It really sucks to give up the Fire Giant, but you gotta look at the positives. It's not an enhanced FG, and by doing this, you keep everybody alive and all your ultimates, which is a really important thing for this Phoenix defense. I mean, all of the ults, I think in particular, Bologna and Scylla, who normally would try to steal the FG, you are going to need on this Phoenix defense. And the left 2 Phoenixes are coming back up. If I was the City Boys, I would honestly just swing over to left and middle. I don't think there's much point trying to burst down a full health bird when you can just get the 2 HP ones. They're coming up in about 10, 20 seconds.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Plus, we've talked so many times about the advantage of getting the far side Phoenixes away from Fire Giant, despite the fact they just got it. It's always good to spread your map pressure around. Fire minions, though, are at that Phoenix, and nobody's going over there to defend it, so it looks like Fire minions will handle the left side Phoenix. Mid Phoenix being pressured by Virtually, right side being pressured by everybody else. Not too much damage coming out player-wise. Good response so far from Dropkick, but Neptune gets blown up by Remarkable Wolf, and this could spell the end for Dropkick and game number 1. Astral Barrage needs one more shot, and I'm a Monster makes it easy. It's a double kill for Remarkable Wolf. Phoenix gets cleaned up. No Phoenix is left. Fire minions rolling in. Nothing stands in the way of City Boys in game number 2 with a 1-game lead. A triple kill for Remarkable Wolf. How far can he take it? It's a double kill for Dash and the deicide for City Boys and a victory in game number 1.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good win for City Boys. I mean, they did it quickly and they did it really emphatically. I remember there was one point, I think, where you started to talk about like their ganks maybe not going the way they should and their invades struggling. At that point, the game was 4-3, and they let up one more kill from that minute on. I think definitely got off to the right track there. They got in a groove, and it didn't really knock out of it all the way until the end. And Remarkable Wolf, 8-1, did work on that Rama.
Yeah, we saw a lot of jungle target bans in the picks and bans for this game. I would not be surprised while there's many strong ADCs right now. I almost think Rama, and with all respect to Remarkable Wolf, that was a very impressive performance. I do think Rama is an ADC that, in this current meta, you could almost say it's like a training wheels ADC. The damage that comes out is just absolutely insane. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a ban or a first pick utilized on that Rama just to take it away or get it out of the field completely.
Yeah, and I think on the flip side, if they do try to take that Rama away, something like an Ishtar, I would love to see out a Remarkable Wolf. I
I
think, like
agree.
you said, Rama lets you get off a lot of easy damage, but in a lot of those 1v1s, he just kind of looked like he was out playing Neptune Spartan
Mhm.
there. And I think definitely getting on a more aggressive pick, one that can even punish it further than the Rama can, would be a scary sight to see from the City Boys ADC.
And I think the same goes for Neptune. I think that there certainly wasn't anything to blame. Things just were not clicking for Dropkick. But I think a ADC pick that maybe Neptune's more comfortable on. He did not look the most comfortable on the Xbalanque. And then maybe taking a different approach to your solo and jungle, if not in terms of the characters you play, but in terms of how they choose to build them. I think those could be the turning points for Dropkick. But with all that being said, we'll see if there's any turning points, and we'll be right back with game number 2 in the SDL playoffs. Game number one, we saw City Boys take off and be borderline uncatchable from Dropkick Kings. On the other hand, can Dropkick Kings turn anything around, and maybe we'll see it turned around in picks and bans? I'm Anthony Malum. He's Kingfisher. Let's talk picks. Let's talk bans.
Yeah, and I think here, if I'm the Dropkick King's first ban, it has to be Rama. It just has to be. I mean, granted, Remarkable Wolf does well in a lot of ADCs. We've seen him do really well in the
There
Oh
it
yeah,
is.
Heimdall. There it is. But yeah, I mean, just looked way too comfortable that game. Torrent banning. And I think I'd also like to see a shift away from the jungler bans on the side of Dropkick Kings. I think it's smart to ban out Virtually, but Virtually's god pool is pretty much all 118 gods. Like you
Yeah,
can't ban Virtually.
it's really tough. You you know, it's hard to. It's always weird to reference old SPL, especially when we're talking about players who we're still seeing come into their own and define their god pools. But it does remind me of watching people like adapting or even say Emilito get banned out, because you ban out, if you spend all of your bans on one person, odds are there's still a character that they can play, and now you've opened up the lane for everybody else on that team to play something they're comfortable with.
Yeah, no, no.
Ishtar is the example.
Yeah, I do want to say I want credit for calling that one on the desk of last game, and it is going to be the Ishtar for Remarkable Wolf. I like that pick. I think it's going to let him get even further ahead in lane. That was kind of one of the catalysts to setting that whole thing off. I mean, everybody on the side of City Boys was ahead, but Remarkable Wolf was just shredding through every health bar. And City Boys, funnily enough, don't take our advice. They ban 3 junglers again. We're on the flip side, it's very varied. I kind of like that approach in some aspects because, as good as a lot of players on this team are, they have won a lot of their games through LDG Fish.
For a second, we
Oh, they
did see
baited
a
me with the
we
Cernanos.
saw Kurnanos being we saw him being hovered, and I was about ready to send an EM. Oh, there it is. We
Oh,
might need
well,
to get you like a first aid kit, maybe maybe some
oh,
CBD. We need to calm you down ASAP. But with the Certanos locked in, the Mirror locked in, a similar approach to the start with a change in ADC is a much welcome change from Dropkick. A Hell and a Maui combo could be on its way, and I was not expecting to see a Hell picked up.
yeah, me neither. They're
Oof,
gonna be switching them out
saved.
here, so not gonna see anything too out of the ordinary. I personally would have loved the Maui pick. I think
Yeah.
Maui's a very good god right now. I think, and especially against a Cernanos. I mean, once you shut down that dash with your hook, or if you land one of those stuns, Cernanos kind of get shut down. He's a hunter that's very reliant on his beads, more so than most, because of that lack of CC immunity. But luckily, Guan Yu has some really reliable CC, and Baba Yaga, she's just tanky. Stooms is gonna have a really hard time finding much of anything onto Slim the Rebel. And I don't think he did too bad on Ymera game 1, just got really underleveled off the bat and kind of just couldn't recover.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We do see the Pele get picked up. We talked about not seeing that too much from Fish because there was just other characters, but they did ban the Pele in game number one. So it getting through here is something to keep your eye on. We don't know if maybe they've seen it in scrims or if there was games that I'm misremembering where Fish has gone off in that Pele, but it's just something to keep in mind because you're not going to lightly ban 4 assassins on one guy and then the guy gets one of those characters and you not be worried about it.
Yeah, definitely stressful to go against Fish on one of his good picks. Kind of surprised it wasn't the Dodgy. I think, granted, I don't think I've seen Fish on the Pele, but he just looks unstoppable every time he plays Dodgy. That being said, I don't think he looked the most comfortable on Osiris, but I think that might have been given the game state. Really not many opportunities to engage, but I think Pele is a god that even from behind, even if your team is losing, you can at least dash in and kill one person really easily. That's a really valuable tool for when you need to take those important trades.
Mhm.
And looking at the rest of the bans, they're banning out some of the more traditional solo laners against the Dropkick Kings this time. I think that's smart. I'd like to see Toe Taker go on much more of a traditional solo laner with a traditional build, especially because this Guan Yu is going to run through the game if they're not careful.
Yeah, how many times this season have we seen, regardless, Challenger, Premier, free agent games, community games where Guan Yu has just been able to completely run a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty countless, and it's always kind of surprising to me. When we started this season out, Guan Yu was the top ban, the top pick. It's kind of shifted to Ishtar lately. Despite last game, I think Ishtar very much still a top ban, top pick god. And I'm kind of surprised we've seen Guan Yu falling through the rankings. I think there has not been a lot of traditional solo lane play for the last few weeks. I think as a result, we've seen less of them. But I like this team comp a lot that we're seeing from City Boys.
Yeah, I haven't seen a Nemesis in a while, but I really like Nemesis into this team comp and how it can play around, especially with this Cthulhu pickup. I really like this Nemesis pick. I like the Kronos pick as well. Kronos is always fun to watch and play, but I think honestly, let's just leave the talking points for the game and let's get right into it. We'll be right back on the Smite Draft League with game number 2. Will the draft changes be enough, or will City Boys be able to ride the hype train to the semifinals? I am Anthony Malum. I've got Kingfisher with me. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I think the draft definitely the question going into this game too. We saw how behind Dropkick Kings got in game 1, and I mean credit to them. They didn't look too bad in game 1. I think it was more just a case of you get behind early and they really couldn't do anything to come back. So I think this team, they got a lot better chance at getting ahead early. One interesting thing to take a look at is they're getting a lot of CC but not a lot of damage onto that Dropkick Kings duo. This Toe Taker's build, we've seen this a lot on magical solo laners building into first item, blanking on the name, Pythagorean's piece. It's gotten pretty popular, and I do like the build. I think offers a lot to the team.
Yeah, and I think on Cthulhu in particular, we've seen it be strong. Tainted Steel going against Guan Yu. Classic, simple, but effective, as we tend to see. But yeah, I agree. We did see the crazy CC in duo, but in game 1, we saw a lot of damage come from it, but OK on this Athena has been very strong. The two-man taunts have just been there nonstop. I'm not sure if that's a positioning thing from Dropkick, block, or just very strong Athena play, but regardless, that's something to keep your eye on here in game number 2.
It definitely is. I think both these supports have looked extremely comfortable, as I think that's the first freeze miss I've seen from Stoops. Not only the game this season, there's a double taunt.
Big damage coming out. Both have health on Dropkick and have to play this safe. And, we talked about a lot in picks and bans, but we stopped before we talked about the Chronos. We didn't really have time to talk about the fact that this is a mid lane Chronos, which is, while rare, is becoming more viable and popular since the buffs. 2-man taunt, big damage on OK. Caught in between, Shell comes out. Now Stoops is low. Blink from Virtually onto Stoops. Getting lower, but they cannot chase the kills down. Wolf turns to finish the wave, and Dropkick is safe for now.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I love the lack of commitment there. I mean, Virtually burned a lot. He went in with Blink, looked super aggressive, and they kind of just ran away, not trying to do anything more. And I think going back to the Chronos pick as he tries to steal his red, not going to happen. I like the pick because I think Pest News does play some interesting picks. I don't think the Chronos is a bad pick, but if he tries to recall, Virtually is going to melt him with the late game Nemesis build.
Virtually went very aggressive for the purple buff. I had my eyebrows raised at it and didn't even talk right away. I was trying to see how it would play out. So far, Virtually just kind of a tank bot will finally fall. Purple buff not secured. City Boy is here, all 3 members remaining on this side. And this is leading to a jungle invade for LDG Fish, which is pretty big early on here for Pele, now with a 2-level lead at 3 minutes.
Yeah, and that Nemesis without her speed buff going to be even harder for Virtually to get around the map. I think this might be a little bit of carryover from game 1. City Boys definitely feeling good, and they have every right to be. It was an incredibly strong game. They played it really well, but I don't like all the early aggression. Wow, that's a good CC chain. Neptune Spartan gets away though, but the one glaring issue I have with Dropkick's draft, and I don't think we got to cover this on the desk, they picked 2 very not safe carries for the amount of aggression out of their solo and their support. Both these Guardians really just kind of like to get into the backlines and dish out the damage in CC. I'm scared these carries are going to be left to their own devices, and they're not really on the best gods for it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the risk you run when you pick either one separate, but like you said, having them both could lead to some potential issues depending on how things go. I'd be worried we see a repeat of, like you said, like what we saw in game 1, because that would not be what Dropkick needs for this team comp. Another 2-man taunt followed up by Ishtar ultimate, big damage, 1 kill for Remarkable Wolf, looking for 2, but Stoops is tanky enough to get away for now. But that makes it 1-1 for both teams.
And they are playing this lane perfectly. I mean, the CC from City Boys has been immaculate this game. Unfortunately, not going to get that first blood bounty, so they're only up a few hundred gold. Pretty negligible even this early on in the game. And I think also, we talked about the Chronos kind of being a weird pick, excited to see what it's going to bring. The Baba Yaga too, I would have liked to see these kind of swap sides. I think the Baba Yaga is a very safe pick, and on the flip side, when Ymir tries to dive Slim the Rebel, it's not going to be an easy job. So the Dropkick Kings got their work cut out for him, and I'm kind of interested to see where they're going to put their win condition. I think normally we talk about it being LDG Fish, but with this team comp, they're going to have to pull a lot out of the hat.
Yeah, I feel like their win condition could almost potentially be a unique circumstance of something along the side or along the way of get the Chronos surprisingly ahead, get him to that late game as quick as you can, so that at least one of your 2 ADCs is doing numbers. Ooh, great wall from Stoops, catches out 2 members of City Boys, and it will lead to 2 deaths for City Boys. Big pickup for Dropkick after the fantastic Ymir wall.
Yeah, already seeing a much better start. That Cthulhu ult was a little late from Toe Taker, but I think nothing ventured, nothing gained, because, I mean, gonna be pretty safe in lane. Guan Yu isn't the highest kill pressure god in the world, especially with that Pythags piece. Should still be pretty safe. And speaking of fun builds, it's a Fabulous Hoops on Guan Yu. You love to see it.
A Cernanos and a Fabulous Hoops in the same game.
My dream come true.
Your room must have the windows fogging up right now. So I'm going to have to ask you to control yourself for the rest of the cask. But regardless, with the pickups across, we're seeing similar build paths. But I do hope that Toe Taker in particular, the Pythax pieces come out first. I really hope he builds a bit tankier going late, because that was a serious problem the Dropkick had in game number 1.
Yeah, and I definitely would expect him to. I think we have seen a lot of Cthulhu's kind of go Pythag for a bit of damage, mainly kind of the passive on it, and then go to a much more traditional solo lane build. I think that's definitely the right move on Cthulhu, not really known for being the most damage-heavy solo, and even with all those protections, you stay alive long enough to do all the damage you need. So I definitely expect a more traditional path and a 7-minute Gold Fury. Wow, City Boys are really feeling it.
You know, it's been a rough start to this game for City Boys, but in game number 1, I was singing a very similar tune based off of their repeated failed ganks. But one thing that they controlled in game 1, and we saw it pay dividends, was their map control, and in particular, their objective control. So if they can pull that out of their bag of tricks for this game as well, I think that could be City Boys' win condition, really, is kind of ignoring the drafts and the teams altogether and just controlling the map.
Yeah, definitely, and I think a contributing factor to this, and I don't think I talked enough about it in game 1, there are not many wards from Dropkick Kings all over the map. I mean, right now I think they have 2 set up, one that Nemesis walked over and one that Baba Yaga is close to. I think they got a few more as Cernos just placed down one, but in game 1, it seemed like they weren't ready for a lot of the jungle invades and stealing away the jungle buffs, making aggressive plays. I think that kind of contributed to them falling behind early. So I think if they can limit what City Boys can do in the first, I don't know, let's say 5 more minutes, they're going to be at a point where it's a much, much healthier state.
Yeah, I think that's a great call from you. We do see a few aggressive wards, but again, the theme there in game number 1 was the aggressive wards were just all duo side, and we really saw the game-changing start to be in Dropkick King's own jungle. We saw it by the purple buff and to the right side of the tier 2 tower and left, and then we saw a lot by Fire Giant, and those were the problem areas for Dropkick in game number 1.
Yeah, definitely it was, and they're going to need to remedy that. Now Neptune Spartan can't quite get the Interceptor. Not going to be able to stay on it at all. Good stun onto Remarkable.
A lot of damage coming out on City Boys, but the Athena ultimate's on the way. Stoops has walled himself in. The worst feeling for a Ymir player. Remarkable Wolf gets his 2nd kill on the Ishtar, and that is just never a good feeling to be a Ymir and block yourself in.
It's not. Am I wrong here? Can't Ymir destroy his own wall
He
by
can.
repressing the button? Oh, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think Stoops was dead there either way.
Yes.
It wouldn't have mattered. Not tanky enough this early on.
Wow. I thought for a second it was going to be a blow-up for Neptune, but then he almost turned around Remarkable, and they both have to walk their separate ways. That was a very close 1v1.
Yeah, and good use of the ultimate from Neptune, forcing the beads out of Ishtar. Remarkable Wolf not going to be able to make that same invade again for a while. Virtually might get turned around on by Fish.
He had to use the Nemesis ultimate on the Pele, but the turnaround damage was a lot for Virtually to handle. But here's that map pressure we talked about. City Boys is now here in force, and Baba Yaga's on her way as well, but no commitment to a fight here from either team. Probably the safest bet here.
Definitely is, and now we're going to see City Boys maybe go for the Pyromancer. Ooh, but no, they want Stoops instead, and the Ymir are going to fall for the 2nd time this game.
They get the Stoops, indeed, and they're going to take the Greater Scorpion with it, and we'll look to see what they could do after that. Wolf doing big damage on Neptune. Spartan, I'm not sure if Spartan gets away quite as easily this time, but he does with the nice Kernos dash. This turns into a Pyromancer, though, on the other side of the map, as Pest News and Fish were both showing up in the mid lane. The secure, though, City Boys gets it in time. Very close call, though. Dropkick was there and had a route to free cast to try to steal it, but it just was not quite there.
Yeah, not quite. Not bad timing from the Chronos either, but I think objective secure is something I always talk a lot about, and neither of these teams really have it, so I think City Boys is unlike last game, where they had a decent amount and they could kind of go for more contested ones, even though there were a pretty big absence of those. Now Ishtar gets aggressive again onto Cernos in the duo lane, and Remarkable Wolf with the 3rd kill of the game. It doesn't matter what pick he's on, he is still rolling over the duo lane.
Yeah, a playoff solo always feels great, and we're seeing more of the same here in game number 2, and that is going to be dangerous for Dropkick, to say the least.
Yeah, it definitely will, and I think especially going the crit build this time in line with the Cernanos, it's going to be a lot harder on these backlines if Remarkable is able to rotate like he did last game and kind of find the same impact. They're going to be dying a lot quicker, so definitely something they need to be careful of. I think for me, that kind of falls on the front line from Dropkick Kings. Toe Taker and LDG Fish are going to have to do a lot to slow down this Ishtar, already the highest level in the game, by at least 2 on all rolls.
Yeah, in game 1, it felt like Wolf was racing to level 20, and it's more of the same this time. Gold Fury about to spawn. We'll see who makes the play for it. Stooms may have gotten caught out, taking a lot of damage from virtually, but a lot of return damage from Pestus, who did show up. The Oni Fury is spawned, and Dropkick is not set up good for it, but City Boys would be taking a big risk to start pulling it. They are going to pull it. Cernanos walking around back, Fish peeking around the side, Stoops and Pest on the way, but Oni Fury is almost dead. Polymorph comes out. City Boy secures the Oni Fury. Remarkable Wolf turns his attention to Neptune and cannot get the kill. Was just a little too low, and Neptune cleans him up. Also dying was OLK. Slim picks up Neptune. Big damage on a Dash now. Stooms is low, but Dash doesn't have a lot he can do. Wall comes out, nowhere to go now. Pestus kills Dash as well. So 3 down just for the Oni Fury.
Yeah, and I think at this stage of the game, granted maybe not later, but that's got to feel good for Dropkick Kings. You'll take 3 kills, or I guess a net of 2 kills for Oni Fury any day, because City Boys are not to the point where they can really push out with the Oni waves. This is more just kind of an inconvenience for Dropkick Kings. That fight, that was really surprising. I mean, Neptune hit a big 3-man polymorph. Remarkable Wolf, despite being under half health, still walked right at the Cernanos, and granted, almost killed him, but definitely like to see a little bit quicker disengage from the City Boys there. I don't think they were doing a bad thing taking that fight, but felt a little unnecessary.
Yeah, I do agree. And, you know, that's one of the tougher calls, is getting an objective early, and that's in a non-playoff game. These are every single call that we see from here on, realistically, in the playoffs is a risky call, because if it's wrong, you don't have very many games to turn it around. You don't have an entire season in front of you. Most of the time you have 2, if not 1 game for that decision to prove to be fruitful. And I think going forward, the teams that make those strong decisions, that the greatest shot callers, will become very clear very quickly.
Yeah, it definitely will be, and I think especially, like you said, because it is playoffs, I mean, we notice here a lot more. It's a lot more in-depth, a lot more things to kind of scrutinize, because like you said, there's not a lot of time to turn it around. It's either you adapt on the fly, or you just kind of lose out. Now Neptune Spartan, again dropping low, and Duo waiting for his team. They're going to be way too late.
And there's the solo kill for Remarkable Wolf. Athena's here to try to protect Wolf, but he turns onto Fish anyway. Feeling himself. Ego Chow pays very well. Make it a triple kill. Taken away. Unfortunate. I think they agree with me. Make it a double kill, and he survives the gank for Remarkable Wolf in the duo lane. OOK picks up one of them, and another. This could be the game-changing kill like we saw last game for City Boys. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all.
It definitely could be, and I mean, that's just kind of ultimately a little bit of a demoralizing kill. I mean, if Stooms was about 3 seconds sooner, they would have had that kill. LDG Fish was doing a lot of damage to that Ishtar, but Remarkable Wolf with that crit got them down fast enough, was able to sustain with the Devo's glove, and outlive 2 people there that probably shouldn't have. So great job from the Ishtar, and the peel too from Athena, coming in, knowing people would be rotating, didn't think the Athena would be ulting just to try and steal the kill credit for the Cernanos.
You know, normally at 15 minutes, we don't have much time to talk about builds, but as they burn this Pyromancer, what do you think of the late Warlock staff on the Chronos?
I mean, double stacking is something we see a lot, so I guess I don't really hate it. I do like that he went Book of Thoth before the Warlock staff. I think Book of Thoth is one of the best items for mages right now, so definitely like seeing that first. And I think Kronos is kind of a lane bot at some points. So definitely still going to have an opportunity to stack up that Warlock staff. It's just, if they can get late enough in the game, because if it's anything like last game, he won't have that at 50 stacks before the game's over.
Neptune stepping up to try to defend the purple buff. Will that be his downfall, taking insane damage? There's the ultimate. It was. Probably should have let the purple buff go. Remarkable Wolf now has 6 kills, 1 death and 2 assists. Mid lane, some aggression onto Fish, but Slim playing it safe, not looking to be too aggressive with the Chronos around the corner, and they back off.
Yeah, and I think Neptune Spartan just needs to take a step back. I mean, 4 of his 5 deaths have been, I think, solo kills from Remarkable Wolf. I get a lot of ADCs and pretty much all roles like to step up, defend their buff, defend their farm, but at this point, 4 levels down, you really just can't. I mean, dying is just getting yourself further behind, but hopefully does learn that and just tries to freeze wave around the Phoenix or the tier 2 tower level. I think that'd be the smart thing to do. He's not going to have much access to farm. Without some help from his team, we do see LDG Fish staying on that side of the jungle, so maybe a little bit more attention there from Dropkick Kings could help turn that duo lane around.
Yeah, I agree. It's very tough to do that. It's very much an I'm going to interrupt myself, as this could be a very sneaky Fire Giant if it pays off, but I'm not sure I'm liking the chances of Dropkick with their lack of damage here. It's not even half health, and Baba Yaga and company are on the way. About a quarter health. Baba Yaga's here. House for the Fire Giant. They're going to go for it. Ascend into Madness. Everybody dropping low. Rewind already out from Pest News. Slim the Rebel kills Stumps. Virtually and Dash low. Pest trying to clean things up, but going to get caught out. Toe Taker gets a kill on the Virtually. Dash onto Pest. Doing good damage, but has to turn around. Wolf cleans up Spartan. Make that 7 for Remarkable Wolf. And this Fire Giant was not only stolen, but 3 members are dead. Pest News has to back, and I don't think that could have gone worse for Dropkick.
Yeah, and I'm kind of struggling a little bit to understand the logic. I mean, granted, Pest News, especially for a mid laner, does a lot of damage to that Fire Giant. It wasn't a horrible call to sneak it. I think if each player had another level or 2, they definitely could have done it by the time Baba Yaga got there. But I think the thing that's holding me back a little is even if they get that Fire Giant, they can't do anything with it. They're all, maybe not if on level, a level or 2 under, especially in ADC. Even if you try to push a tower with that FGB, with the Fire Giant buff, oh geez, I butchered that one. The Ishtar is just going to eat right through you. Now this kind of opens a door for City Boys. They got 2 towers in mid. They're going to take a Fury off it too. That could be a really, really costly mistake for the Dropkick Kings.
The only thing I can think of is there was a lack of wards from City Boys on the Fire Giant, and Dropkick might have thought they were clear, but what I don't think they knew was there was a very, very deep ward from City Boys that every single one of them passed over to get to Fire Giant, and then nobody was showing up in lanes. So it was sort of a where else could they be situation for City Boys. So I think Dropkick might have just overthought themselves a little bit and outsmarted themselves.
Yeah, and that was an ambitious Nemesis ult from Virtually. And to say the least, maybe just trying to back Toe Taker off a little bit. I mean, they still have Fire Giant. They can still try to look for these towers. I think it's what I would do. Grouping up is definitely the right call, I think. But this Cthulhu ult, it's going to make sieging this tier 2 if that's their choice. It is going to be really hard to do, and they're going to lose at least 1 member if they try to push this fight too far.
Yeah, they've got to play it smart. We did see during a lot of the defenses in game number 1, Dropkick would pretty consistently go hyper aggro in those defenses and try to make plays happen, which opened doors for City Boys. But I don't think they're going to make that mistake on tier 2. Pest News might peek around, but it looks like overall they're conceding the tier 2 tower.
Yeah, and I do not like that from Toe Taker. He stayed in base to wait for a tier 1 item instead of teleporting in. Here comes the big engage.
Duo lane has the back, but will it be too little too late, as everybody might die by the time Pele's here. Pele is here now. Stumps is still alive, but level 11, the Guan Yi ultimate will clean it up. 2 members down for Dropkick. OLK, the only low member on City Boys. But with the 3 members here, and Toe Taker still having that ultimate alongside the Chronos ultimate, City Boys will think better of it and choose to back away and call the 1 Phoenix a victory.
Yeah, definitely a smart move by City Boys disengaging. I would say if Athena had her ultimate up, then go for the middle Phoenix because you're going to get a full health tank back there momentarily. Wow, that Pyro never stood a chance. But I don't know about that from Dropkick Kings. I definitely would have liked to see them defend, if not the tier 2 tower, which I think they could have if Cthulhu was there. Definitely should have had a stronger defense on the Phoenix. I think a little late recognizing the play call. That being said, though, Dropkick Kings, they have a very, very good defensive team comp. I mean, even though City Boys have this 15,000 gold advantage, it's not like a thing to take for granted pushing down these last Phoenixes.
Yeah, I we talked about game number 1 that the defensive composition was not quite there for Dropkick. I do think they have a better defensive comp here. I mean, Kronos is one of the better characters I like for defending. Combine that with the Ymir, combine that with the Cthulhu. I like their chances. Fish might have to make some tough plays during those defenses to make the Pele pay off, but it's not over for Dropkick, but the goal lead is significant. So the damage coming out from City Boys is going to be immense.
Yeah, it is. And I think one of the few things that Dropkick Kings have been doing pretty well in these team fights is I think actually on Toe Taker, the Cthulhu. I think each fight he's looked really, really good from my point of view. Maybe I'm missing something or he's not doing as much damage as he should be. But I think the engage from Toe Taker has been really, really nice. I think that's definitely a thing Dropkick Kings can build around. And if him and LDG Fish can get onto the same page, these engages are going to be a lot more stressful for City Boys. Dropkick Kings definitely still have some chances, but now the question is, do you defend the Fire Giant? I would say no.
I th- Normally I'd at least say have somebody peek around to see what they can make happen, like they're doing with Toe Taker, but I don't like it. I think just give it up. I don't think it changes your chances that significantly. I think this is basically a tower defense simulator. It looks like they feel most of the same way, aside from Pestu's clearing out the blue buff. And I'm glad they did not send Toe Taker in. Probably would not have gone well. But with the Fire Giant easily secured for City Boys, the lane's now open for them to basically run it down. It's going to take a perfect defense from Dropkick, and I don't know if it's quite there.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately this is one of those games that we normally start seeing at like 35 or 40 minutes. Dropkick Kings are going to be on their back the entire games. Can they get off of it though?
Not yet. Stooms took a lot of damage, but also a lot of damage is Dash. And okay, Remarkable Wolf kills Fish virtually has a kill. Slim has a kill. Toe Taker in descent into madness, but falls. It makes it a double kill for Remarkable Wolf. Dash makes it the deicide. Athena's ulting in. That's going to be all it wrote. They're going to consider the Phoenix and ultimately make the better choice and go for the Titan. And City Boys is going to advance to the semifinals.
Yeah, and a really strong game again from City Boys. If you're another team watching this, I would definitely be nervous. They are looking good, and I think in particular, Remarkable Wolf is looking unstoppable in ADC. A huge part of them winning that game 1. I think less so in game 2, but still really impactful.
Yeah, I got to say that was City Boys impressed me there. Going into the playoffs, they were not a team that I was exactly expecting to be so dominant. I'm curious if it'll continue, and I certainly hope it does because that makes for the most interesting games possible. And I feel like this game was a great showing by them, and the rest of the teams that they're going to meet in the semifinals, they need to be ready because it's not going to be an easy path.
Yeah, it definitely won't be, and they looked pretty dang unstoppable in that game, and I think they play Tactical Feeders in the next
Correct.
round, who is a team that has looked on a rampage lately since they made a couple roster moves, so I think both teams definitely going to be sizing each other up, and that is going to be a semi-final to watch, for sure. But on the flip side, from Dropkick Kings, I mean, I think there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's a tough loss, I don't think it's a bad loss, though. I think a lot of those members still played really well. They just got into really not favorable position at the start of both games.
I agree, and like Fish said, keep an eye out for the semifinals as we will have City Boys versus the Tactical Leaders. That will be a very exciting semifinals game, as well as the rest of our playoffs, which are all happening very soon. Join the Discord, do all the things you're supposed to do to keep an eye out for the content as it comes your way. I have been Anthony Malum. He was Kingfisher. We had Newblet on production, and we will see you next time on the Smite Draft League.